The city never truly sleeps, especially not when two of its brightest stars decide to meet under the hush of midnight skies. It was a night painted in silver and silence, where the only witnesses were the moon, the streetlights, and the quiet hum of destiny. Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo, names that echo through every corner of the entertainment world, had been spotted together once again. But this time, it wasn't on stage, not on a set, and not behind the veil of rehearsed professionalism. It was something far more intimate, far more real, a late-night date that sent hearts fluttering across the world. It began quietly. The evening had already wrapped itself around Beijing like a silk shawl. The streets dimly lit, a soft drizzle teasing the air, and the wind whispering secrets only lovers could understand. Xiao Zhan, ever the gentleman, was seen leaving his apartment just past midnight, dressed in a black trench coat that shimmered slightly under the lamplight. His face, partly hidden by a mask and cap, couldn't disguise that familiar aura of grace. The air around him carried that subtle mystery fans could never get enough of. At the same moment, on the opposite side of the city, Wang Yibo's motorbike revved to life, that distinct roar that every fan knows by heart. His love for speed wasn't just a passion. It was an escape, a rhythm that matched his heartbeat. Dressed in leather and confidence, Yibo cut through the city like a shadow chasing the wind. But his destination wasn't the usual track or a late-night hangout. It was something far more personal. Rumors had already begun to swirl hours earlier. Whispers of an exclusive rooftop reserved under a false name, a private chef called in at an unusual hour, and lights that flickered only for two. Whether it was fate or just a well-guarded secret, that rooftop was where their paths crossed once again. As the elevator doors opened, the world seemed to slow down. There stood Xiao Zhan, gazing at the skyline, his face bathed in the glow of the city lights. The moment Wang Yibo stepped out, their eyes met. For a heartbeat, time forgot how to move. No cameras, no scripts, just them. The rooftop was transformed into something straight out of a dream. A small table dressed in soft white linen, fairy lights dangling like stars above, and candles flickering against the cool night breeze. A violinist played softly in the background, the melody rising like the sound of a confession neither dared to voice aloud. "Did you really book all this?" Xiao Zhan asked with that soft, almost teasing smile of his, one that could melt even the coldest night. Wang Yibo, trying to hide a grin, shrugged. "You said once you missed the stars. Thought I'd bring them closer." It was the kind of reply that carried more weight than words could bear. Xiao Zhan's laughter broke through the silence, soft, genuine, and filled with something that lingered in the air long after. They sat across from each other, the city glittering beneath their feet, yet neither cared about the view. All that mattered was the person sitting opposite. The conversation flowed like music. They talked about their days, about filming, about how fame sometimes felt like a cage made of light. Yibo, usually quiet and composed, opened up, speaking about the loneliness that often comes with success. Xiao Zhan listened, his eyes filled with understanding, nodding as if every word echoed something he'd felt too. At one point, a light drizzle began to fall, gentle, almost playful. Most would have run for cover, but not them. Xiao Zhan tilted his head up, letting the rain kiss his skin, while Yibo reached out, brushing away a droplet from his cheek. The world around them seemed to fade. No paparazzi, no fans, no expectations. Just two souls finding warmth in the chill of night. Then came a moment that would stay in memory, like a frame frozen in time. Yibo stood, pulling Xiao Zhan to his feet. The violinist, sensing the shift, played something softer, a slow, romantic piece that carried a heartbeat within every note. Under the rain and the stars, the two began to dance. There was no choreography, no rehearsed moves, just rhythm born of connection. Xiao Zhan's laughter mixed with Yibo's quiet chuckle as they spun slowly, the city lights reflecting in their eyes. The rain fell harder now, soaking them both, but neither cared. In that moment, it wasn't about fame, fandoms, or fortune. It was about the unspoken, The shared glance, the brush of fingers, the heartbeat that didn't need translation. When the rain finally eased, Yibo handed Xiao Zhan his jacket, draping it gently over his shoulders. "You'll catch a cold," he said, voice low, almost tender. "And you'll be the reason," Xiao Zhan replied, smiling through the shimmer of raindrops on his lashes. They stood side by side, watching the horizon as the first hint of dawn began to creep into the sky. It was beautiful, poetic, the meeting of night and morning, shadow and light, just like them. But before the world could wake up and ruin the magic, they left, quietly, separately, yet somehow together. Xiao Zhan slipped back into his car, his reflection catching a fleeting smile in the window. Wang Yibo kicked his motorbike into gear, the engine roaring softly like a promise. As he drove off, he glanced once at the rearview mirror, at the rooftop now dark, yet glowing in memory. By the time morning arrived, social media had erupted. Fans noticed tiny details, matching bracelets, a similar song posted on both their feeds, the same skyline captured from slightly different angles. Coincidence? Hardly. It was enough to send waves of excitement across fanbases worldwide. Speculation turned into admiration. People didn't just talk about the alleged date. They spoke of the emotion, the way both seemed lighter, happier, freer in their recent appearances. It was as if the night had given them both something, a secret spark, a reminder of who they truly were beneath the spotlight. Backstage at a later event, someone caught a glimpse of them again, a fleeting touch, a shared smile that said more than any interview could. Whether it was love, deep friendship, or something unnamed, it was clear that what Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo shared was rare. It wasn't about the cameras. It was about connection, raw, real, and radiant. As the story of their late-night date continued to spread, fans didn't just see it as gossip. They saw it as a fairy tale, one painted not in luxury or fame, but in simplicity. Two stars finding comfort in the quiet hours when the world stops watching. Two hearts daring to meet halfway in the glow of city lights. And somewhere in the silence between heartbeats, the universe smiled, because love, no matter how it's defined, always finds its moment under the stars. The city was quieter now, its heartbeat slowing as the hours crept past midnight. But for Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo, the night had only just begun. Their rooftop dinner had ended, yet neither of them was ready to say goodbye. There was something electric in the air, a pull, an unspoken invitation that neither could resist. "Come on," Wang Yibo said with a half-smile, his voice cutting through the drizzle that still hung in the air. "There's somewhere I want to show you." Xiao Zhan hesitated for a moment, then nodded, the corners of his lips curving in that soft, knowing smile that always seemed to disarm Yibo completely. They left the rooftop quietly, their footsteps echoing in rhythm. The world outside was asleep, the kind of stillness that made every whisper sound louder, every glance more intimate. Outside the building, Yibo's black motorbike waited, sleek, glistening under the faint glow of the streetlights. "You trust me?" he asked, holding out a spare helmet. Xiao Zhan laughed softly, his voice like a melody lost in the mist. "Should I?" Yibo smirked. "You already do." And he was right. Without another word, Xiao Zhan took the helmet, slipping it on before wrapping his arms around Yibo's waist. The touch was gentle, but it sent a shiver straight through Yibo's spine. For a moment, everything stopped, the rain, the air, even time itself. Then the bike roared to life, slicing through the night like a whispered secret. They sped through empty streets, past neon signs still flickering in half-sleep, their reflections dancing on wet asphalt. The wind whipped against their faces, carrying laughter and something softer, something that felt like freedom. For once, there were no fans, no flashing cameras, no stage lights. Just two souls escaping the weight of fame, chasing a moment that felt real. After what felt like forever and yet not long enough, Yibo slowed down near the riverbank, a secluded spot far from the city's noise. He killed the engine, and the world fell into silence. Only the soft rush of the river filled the air. "Why here?" Xiao Zhan asked, removing his helmet and shaking his damp hair out of his face. Yibo turned to him, eyes glimmering beneath the faint moonlight. Because no one comes here. It's quiet. Just us and the stars. The river shimmered like liquid glass, reflecting every flicker of light from the city skyline in the distance. They sat on the grass, side by side, watching the water flow. The night smelled of rain, wildflowers, and something new, the sweet ache of connection. For a long while, they didn't speak. Words weren't needed. The silence between them wasn't empty. It was full of things they couldn't say aloud, full of glances that carried whole conversations. Finally, Xiao Zhan broke the silence. You ever think about what it would be like if we weren't who we are? Yibo turned his head, studying him. You mean not famous? Xiao Zhan nodded, staring at the reflection of the moon in the river. Yeah, if we could just be two people. No fans, no cameras, no pressure. Just us. Yibo was quiet for a moment before answering softly. I think it would look a lot like this. It was the kind of sentence that hit deeper than it should have. Xiao Zhan turned, meeting Yibo's eyes, and for that one heartbeat, everything else melted away. The sound of the river, the cool wind, the faint hum of distant cars, all of it faded, leaving just them. A drop of rain landed on Xiao Zhan's cheek again. He laughed quietly, wiping it away. Looks like the sky doesn't want to leave us alone tonight. Yibo grinned. Then let's not leave it either. They sat closer now, shoulders touching, their warmth mingling with the chill of the night. Yibo leaned back, resting his hands on the grass, while Xiao Zhan glanced at him, really looked at him. The soft light outlined every angle of Yibo's face, the sharp jawline, the focused eyes that seemed to see straight through the noise of the world. I sometimes forget you're younger than me, Xiao Zhan said teasingly. You act like you've got it all figured out. Yibo chuckled, his voice low. Maybe I do. Maybe I just know what I want. And what's that? Yibo turned his head slightly, meeting Xiao Zhan's gaze. Peace. Nights like this. People who make the noise worth it. The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Xiao Zhan didn't reply right away, but his expression softened, the kind of softness that doesn't need words. Instead, he picked up a small pebble and tossed it into the river. Ripples spread across the surface, catching the moonlight. Funny, Xiao Zhan murmured. I used to think peace was about being alone. Now it feels more like being with someone who understands. Yibo smiled, quiet and genuine. Then I guess you found it. It wasn't a confession. Not exactly. But in the silence that followed, it felt like one. The kind of unspoken truth that lives in glances and lingers in breaths. They stayed there until the first hint of dawn brushed the sky with gold. The air grew warmer, the stars began to fade, and the city started to wake. Xiao Zhan pulled his coat tighter around him, looking out at the light creeping over the horizon. Do you ever wish nights like this could last forever? He asked softly. Maybe they can, Yibo replied, if you remember them right. Xiao Zhan smiled, a small, knowing smile that carried the weight of something beautiful and fleeting. As they stood up, the city behind them stretched and stirred, unaware of the quiet magic that had unfolded while it slept. Yibo started the motorbike again, the roar echoing across the riverbank. Xiao Zhan climbed on, and as they sped back toward the waking city, the wind carried the sound of their laughter, light, unguarded, and free. The night had been theirs alone, a secret written in starlight and sealed by rain. And even though morning came, the memory of that late-night date would linger, glowing softly in the corners of their hearts. Because sometimes love doesn't need to be spoken. It just needs to be felt, in the stillness of a midnight ride, in the warmth of shared silence, and in the unbreakable bond between two souls who found each other under the same stars. If you loved this continuation of Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo's late-night date, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more breathtaking stories, emotional moments, and unforgettable scenes that will leave you wanting more.